It's so crazy how God can change your reality in an instant. Felt like I peed on myself. Things started going downhill. I was just waiting on them to tell me I'm traumatized. They gave me some good old medicine. I never heard a baby cry. It was just like, Lord, why me? You could be surrounded by people and still feel alone. It's a testimony to how good God is. It's so crazy how God can change your reality in an instant. Today is July 14th. A month ago, I was laid up in the hospital bed being told that my baby could have potential abnormalities due to him being born without oxygen. And fast forward to today, we have a healthy, thriving baby right here. He's currently asleep, but we have a healthy, thriving baby here at the house with us finally. With it being a full month of me entering motherhood, I just thought that it was appropriate to sit down and just reflect about everything that we went through. Me specifically, I can only tell my version of the story, but reflect on everything that I went through within this past month, giving birth to dealing with his complications, to my NICU experience, and just navigating my thoughts postpartum. It has been a tough road, but one thing I will say is that God is very, very faithful, and I wouldn't have made it through all of this without him. So if you watched my previous vlog, you seen June 12th, I checked into the hospital for a scheduled induction. I was nervous but excited because I'm getting to see my baby. So we checked into the hospital, just very hopeful. Of course, with admissions, they asked 50-11 questions. They're asking me of all my history, and once we got through all of that, they started the IV. Earlier that week, when I went to my doctor's appointment, I was still 0 centimeters dilated. So when she checked my cervix, I was still 0 centimeters dilated. So they started this medicine, which is called a Certitec. I believe I am saying it right. It was actually like a pill. They inserted it in my vagina, and it was supposed to soften my cervix and try to get things going. I think it was like a couple hours into the whole induction process, and I was still 0 centimeters dilated, and they called for me to start Pitocin. I made a birth plan and everything like that. Obviously, my birth plan didn't go how I wanted it to, but I made a birth plan, and in that birth plan, it said that I did not want to start Pitocin unless I absolutely had to. I don't remember them giving me another option. It's just like, we getting Pitocin. So I had to let my guard down. The reason why I did not want Pitocin is because my older sister, she had a baby about 3 years ago. We have the same doctor, and she was a trooper. She was doing it naturally and everything. Her dilation process kind of stopped at 6 centimeters, if I remember correctly. She ended up having to have a C-section. Since then, I was just like, Pitocin, it causes C-sections. If you get Pitocin, you're gonna have to have a C-section. That's how I made it up in my mind. So that's why I was like very adamant in my birth plan that I did not want Pitocin. I did not want Pitocin. But of course, it'll change when you are actually in the process. It's like whatever the medical professionals deem is right, especially if it's your first time. So I just went ahead and just did what they thought was best. So we started Pitocin, and I ended up feeling my first contraction. Very, very horrible. I was like, oh no, that was nothing that I felt in my pregnancy. 10 times worse. And I was like, no. But thankfully, I could get some sleep. So I ended up falling asleep, and around 4:15 a.m. on June 13th, my water broke. I felt this gushing feeling. I was like, oh my goodness, I felt like I peed on myself. Woke up and I said, Kobe. I said, I think my water just broke. And I have never seen Kobe jump up and move that fast. He believed that when your water broke is like when you were about to have the baby. And I was like, no, I don't think so. I don't think so. So he was like, what are we supposed to do? What are we supposed to do? And I said, I don't know. We just need to call the nurse. So we called the nurse, she cleaned me up, all of that. I was hopeful then. I was like, okay, my water broke on its own. Maybe we will have a baby today. Because in my mind, again, this is my first pregnancy, your water breaks, you're about to have your baby. This is a sign that your baby is coming. Negative. I ended up going the whole entire day without dilating much. By the end of the day, I was about 6 centimeters dilated. So I was very, very miserable. Keep in mind, I hadn't ate since 11, 12 o'clock that previous day. So I was miserable. I was only surviving off of ice chips and popsicles. And I was throwing the popsicles up because if you are familiar with my pregnancy vlogs, my baby didn't like sweet things. But that was the only thing that I could really survive off of. I needed something. Furthest I dilated was about 6 centimeters as well. The next morning, they called for me to have an emergency C-section. You have ruptured for about 20 hours, 20 plus hours. I think I was in labor for like 29 hours, to be honest. They were like, okay, we haven't seen any progress. We're just going to call for a C-section. And I call it an emergency C-section because throughout the process, early in the morning on June 14th, things started going downhill. Kaleb's heart rate kept declining. They ended up stopping the Pitocin because he did not like it anymore. They had me turn every which way, doing the peanut ball, trying to see if his heart rate will pick back up. So it was a lot of things that started going wrong, and that's when they said, okay, we'll just have a C-section. In the back of my mind, I already knew June 13th, that Saturday, I already knew once I figured out that I wasn't dilating as fast as I thought I was going to dilate after my water broke. I knew I was going to have a C-section. I was just waiting on them to tell me. When the words came out of my doctor's mouth, I instantly just cried. I broke down. I cried because in my mind, I did not want to end up like my mom. If you're new here, my mom ended up passing away 5 years ago on June 14th, 2021. Very, very ironic. I had my baby the same day that my mother passed 5 years ago. I don't even know if I should be even say anything like this because we're still going through some legal stuff. I truly believe one of the causes of her death was due to her cesarean procedures. I was like, no, I don't want any complications down the road like she had. In my mind, I kept saying, I want to live. I don't want to leave my baby. I don't want to leave my baby. I broke down, had my husband and my sister trying to calm me down. They ended up giving me this nerve relaxing medication because my nerves were shot. Kobe was like, you got to calm down. Kaleb can feel all of this. He can feel it. He can feel it. You got to calm down. I believe that plus the medicine was one of the reasons why I was just like, okay, y'all just got to do what y'all got to do what's best for my child, but please make sure that I'm still here as well. That's why when y'all seen that last clip before I went into the operation room, I just looked so defeated. I just looked so sad. It was because I was defeated. I was sad. That was one of my number one concerns, me having a C-section and me ending up like my mom. Granted, I know many women have C-sections and, you know, they make it, but I'm traumatized. Traumatized from the hospitals. I'm traumatized from surgeries, all of that, just due to what I went through during my mom's passing. They prepped me. They got me together. I could pick two people in the operation room. And of course, I chose my husband and I chose my sister because my sister, like I said, she had a baby 3 years ago. Same doctor. She was recording for me like she was my second pair of eyes. Whatever Kobe couldn't see, she saw. They ended up wheeling me to the operation room, and that was probably like the longest little trip. I could just feel my heart racing, but they gave me some good old medicine. It was really, really good. Got to the operation room. I remember them moving me from one bed to the next. I guess I was on the table. I wasn't on the bed. They moved me from the bed to the table. They started the process. With the C-section, of course, you know, they have the big old curtain. You can't see anything, but the people with you, they can see it all. I could not feel a thing. The most I could feel was pulling and tugging. It was a really, really weird feeling, to be quite honest, but it was nothing like getting my epidural. If we want to backtrack, getting the epidural was horrible for me. I could feel everything, and I was very, very scared getting the epidural because if I move, I could potentially become paralyzed. And then the epidural kind of wore off because I started feeling the contractions, and they started giving me more like heavier medicine that just put me to sleep. Anyways, we're in the operation room. I just feel pulling and tugging, and then I hear a big pop. I hear everybody say, oh, and I hear Kobe say, oh, he's cute. And I instantly say, thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. But as soon as I say, thank you, Lord, Kobe says, what's wrong? Whole time, I never heard a baby cry. I never heard a baby cry. According to Kobe, they rushed him over to the side, started doing CPR. That was pretty much it. I never saw my baby. I never got them wrapping him and bringing him over to the side and putting him up to my face. I never seen my baby. After doing CPR, I'm imagining imagining that they rushed him over to the NICU. Kobe kept asking, what's wrong? What's wrong? And I don't think anybody responded to him, but they ended up patching me up, putting me back on the bed, and wheeling me back to the room. We get back to the room. Everybody is a little confused. I'm still high on good medication. My dad is asking me, where's Kaleb? Where's the baby? I can't answer because I don't know. I believe either Janice or Kobe answered him and said he had some breathing complications, and they took him. Probably about 20-30 minutes later, it was a doctor that came in, and he started telling us who he was, why he came, and what happened with Kaleb. He ended up saying that Kaleb was born without oxygen and he had a mild case of HIE. I don't know how to pronounce that full term. I'll put it up on the screen. Read this description. It says that HIE is a serious brain injury caused by a lack of oxygen and blood flow to an infant's brain. Symptoms can range from mild to severe. Again, like I said, he said that he had a mild case of HIE, so they rushed him to the NICU to do this cooling process. Put him on a cooling table where it cools his whole body. It stops whatever potential brain damage that may have happened when he was without oxygen. The man ended up saying that this process could take up to 3 weeks. I'm just hearing this, and again, I'm on a good medication, so I'm just okay. But in my mind, I'm like, what in the world is going on, Lord? How did this happen? So from then on, the nurses asked if I wanted to see my baby, and of course I'm like, yeah, I want to see my baby, but it's not like I could physically get up and walk. So they had to wheel me down to the NICU to see my baby for the first time. And when I seen him for the first time, I was in complete shock. Nothing could prepare me for seeing my baby hooked up on wires and tubes, looking spread out, just nothing could have prepared me for that. Although I was on good medication, I was in shock. I was just like, what happened? What is going on? Despite all of that, I still say my baby was cute. He was still a handsome little thing with all the wires and tubes hooked up to him. I could tell. I was like, oh my goodness, my handsome little boy. He ended up being smaller than what we thought, being 6 pounds, 15.1 ounces, but he was 21 inches long. Weight, he was smaller than what we thought, but he was very long. Still confused on where he's getting this height from. I guess it all played a role to how they predicted how heavy he was in my stomach. From then on, that was the start of our NICU journey. Of course, with a C-section, you can't just get up and go and do what you want to do like I am used to. I had to rely heavily on my husband, which I'm very, very grateful for. I'm very grateful for Kobe being there, his patience, and just his understanding throughout this whole process. Because I didn't have my baby, because I had to rely on him, I was very adamant that I needed to be strong. I needed to get up and do what I needed to do so I could go see my baby, so I could be able to see my baby on my own. They weren't going to keep wheeling my bed down there to the NICU. That was another awful feeling for me. I'm laid up in a hospital bed, some floors above him, and I can't go and see my baby. Kobe can. Kobe can go and see him whenever he wanted to. He had free will. But because I had the epidural, because I was on heavy medication, I was a fall risk, and I was just weak. You got to think about it. They just went through 7 layers of fat. This was like a major operation. I could not be independent. I had to sit and lay and just feel. When I say I felt because, one, I just went through this whole operation, and the one person that I really, really wanted with me, which is my mom, she was gone. I didn't have a mama to call to ask, how is this supposed to feel? I didn't have a mama to call to say, hey, is this normal? I had my mother-in-law, I had my sister. Come on now, it's nothing like your mama. You know that. I was in my feels about that. June 14th, that's a mourning holiday for me. For all of this to happen on this horrendous day, it was just like, Lord, why me? Isn't this day enough? It causes me so much pain. Why would you bring more pain to me? The other person that I thought would be by my side ended up leaving and not talking to me. He was mad because of a decision that I made. It really just made me feel very, very alone. I know I was surrounded by people. I had my in-laws, I had Kobe, but you could be surrounded by people and still feel alone. That was how I felt. Didn't really want to talk to anybody. I had friends, I had family reaching out. I didn't want to talk to anybody because, again, sitting here asking God, haven't I been through enough? I don't don't have my mom. My dad's not talking to me. I'm literally here alone. My baby is going through all of this because of what? Why did you allow this to happen when I had a very, very healthy pregnancy? I had no complications throughout my whole pregnancy. Why would you allow this to happen? To this day, I still don't know the answer. I still don't know why he allowed this to happen, but I trust in the Lord. I believe all of this came about for his glory. This is a testimony that only he can get the glory from, that he could get, positive recognition from. I was really, really down bad mentally, but I couldn't stay there because now I have this little person that needs me. I couldn't stay in a depressive state because when you're depressed, your milk supply depletes. And I'm just like, my baby got to eat. He got to eat. He not up here. He can't breastfeed. He has to eat. Even though I'm going through all of this mentally, got to put it to the side. I got somebody that is dependent on me wholeheartedly. So that's when I made up in my mind that I know I just had this major operation, but I'm going to do what I got to do to get myself up out this bed, to move, to walk a little bit. And I ended up getting the epidural removed, I think a day later, and the catheter a day later, and I was free to move a little bit. Kobe could wheel me down to the NICU, I think the second day after my operation. And then that's when the tough part started. Going to the NICU, but we couldn't touch him. We couldn't hold him. We couldn't take him home. I think that was the toughest part, We could go down there 24 hours. We could go down there whenever we wanted to. But the hardest part was not being able to touch him, not being able to hold him, and just seeing him like that. It was very tough. Despite it all, Kaleb was strong. He is strong. He ended up staying on the cooling table for 72 hours, and then we rewarmed him. I think that third day, I think it took 12 hours, and he did excellent. Brain scans, MRIs, all of that. Nothing came back negatively. Didn't have any brain damage. For the 10 minutes he was without oxygen. He's a miracle. He is a full miracle, and that's why I call him my miracle baby. Like I said in the previous vlog, only thing that we are really having trouble with is his breathing. But like I said in the previous video, we have numerous doctor visits for everything that he went through. All in all, that NICU experience was a roller coaster, because some days they say, oh yeah, he's doing well. We predict you to go home this day. And then we come back the next day and it's like, oh, well, this happened overnight. He has to stay a couple more days. It was heart-wrenching. I am so grateful for the Baptist Health team, the Baptist Health NICU Center. Like, they were amazing. We had cameras to see him. We could call up there and talk to his nurse anytime. We had access to go over there 24 hours and just sit with him. We couldn't stay up until the end, until they moved him to the step down unit, but we could sit for however long we wanted to sit. I'm just so grateful that God placed me at Baptist Health, because Baptist Health is the only hospital in Arkansas. Well, I don't know if it's in Arkansas, but it was the only hospital that had the cooling table procedure. I couldn't imagine having him anywhere else and this happened, and we would have to wait and transfer him and have potential damage being caused to his brain. I don't even want to imagine that. I'm just very, very thankful God placed me where we needed to be. Side note, if y'all hear him, he was right here, but his daddy took him. They're in the room, so don't think that my baby just crying and I'm just sitting here talking to y'all. I'm a good mother, okay? I'm a good mother. Like I said, the NICU experience was hard. I believe me and Kobe, we were the first in both of our families to kind of have this whole NICU experience. It was tough. People kept asking, well, when is he coming home? When is he coming home? When can we see him? When can we see him? And I don't think people understand how difficult that is. Yes, want you to be able to see our baby. We want him to be able to come home, but we don't know. And you keep asking us this, and it's just making us feel worse and worse. We don't know. The only person that really got us through was God. I owe my life to God. There is nothing that I could have done to save my baby. There's nothing that I could have done to speed up the process. There was nothing that I could have done, Kobe could have done, either of our families could have done. We literally had to trust, pray, and believe in God. Lean into him. I mean, we have never prayed as hard as we prayed throughout this whole process. For 18 days straight, we prayed, prayed, we cried, we prayed. God gave us a reason to pray. God gave us a reason to cry. And it really just brought us closer and made us bond. And I believe it kind of healed a part of our marriage too, but that's another topic for another day. The whole experience was very, very crazy. It's a testimony to how good God is. I kept saying throughout this whole process from day one is that God didn't bring us here just to leave us. He didn't bring us this far just to leave us. And I stand on that today. Even now, even with him in here crying, he did not bring us this far just to leave us. And that is what carried me through this whole experience. Despite me not having my mama, despite my issues with my dad, God brought me through. I felt alone, still feel alone sometimes now, but I have a little baby that I talk to. Again, I asked God why did things have to be like this? Why did my relationship with my dad taint? Why did you allow all of this stuff to happen? And I truly believe it's because I wasn't leaning on him as I should have been. I believe this happened to show me that he is the only one that could save me from any and everything. Yes, I may have family members. They can't do what he can do. It really increased my faith. Like I said, I owe God my life. But yeah, that is pretty much it. That is my little birthing experience, what I can remember off the top of my head, because as you can imagine, it was very traumatic. Overall, we're just grateful. We're thankful that our baby is home. He's not perfect, but he is here. He is here, and we are so thankful. My beautiful little baby, I call him my handsome stinky man, because when I say he poops. Y'all will see in the upcoming vlogs. Baby, having a boy is something. But I am entirely grateful for my baby. I'm entirely grateful for my family, my little family. I say the three of us, but it's really four, because y'all know Queen, my little Queenie Pooh. I'm grateful for everybody that knew what was going on and prayed for us, because I was very, very silent. I was very secretive. I did not tell pretty much any of my friends. I think if they watch this video, they'll really know what happened. And because I never said anything about any of this, it was really just family, close family. Emphasis on close. I have no words. This is a testimony that only God could get recognition from. It's because of God. Is he hungry? But as y'all can see, I had to be a mommy. He is hungry.
Can we borrow your tea?
Yeah. As y'all can see, my family is out here, and that is pretty much the end of this little story time, my birth story experience. I'm very, very grateful for where we are. I thank God. Only God is because of God. I hope you guys enjoyed getting a little peek into what really happened. It's no tea, no nothing. It's just real life over here. I'm about to go ahead and end this and tend to my child. As always, please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to my channel if you're not already subscribed. And I will see y'all in my next video. Bye.